Bonjour. Welcome to Wahsa Distance Education Center's radio Zoom classes. This is MBF3C, grade 11 college math, and I am the teacher, Bronwyn Slate. If you'd like to participate live today, you can call the Wahsa studio at 1-800-465-7144 or 737-4017. You can listen on the radio at 91.9 FM and on the television at Bell Express View channel 972. You are always welcome to join me live through the Zoom link, which is available both for me, your teacher, and also your DEC. Our classes are scheduled Monday through Thursday from 10 until 11 in the morning, and we are in our 7th week of our 9-week course. At this point, you definitely need to be submitting work for marking so you can get your credit. Reminder that the support questions, the ones with the little pencil icon, are not for marking. You decide which ones to do and how many. You know yourself best and what tools you need in order to understand. So you don't have to spend time on things that you know you're comfortable with and confident with. You do what works best for you. The answers are in the back of the book, so check your work. I do encourage you to try some of the practice problems at least and check your work to make sure you're on the right track. The key questions, however, the ones with the little key icon, are the marked questions, and these ones you need to do all of them. I am marking them all, so you need to do them all, because that is how you get your credit. Also show all of your work, your steps and your thinking so that I can understand what it is that you understand and give you feedback and help you improve if you need to. So how do you submit your work for marking? Well, there are 3 methods. The first is to scan your work and send it electronically. If you have a device, you can scan using it. Apple devices have a Notes app that comes with the device, and Android devices have a Google Drive app. These are free and fairly straightforward to use. However, if you do need some support, on my YouTube channel, there are tech tutorials that walk you through step-by-step how to actually use these apps. If you need some more support, feel free to ask me. I'm happy to help you out. Then you can send your work by email to studentwork@nnec.on.ca and cc it to bronwyn.slate@nnec.on.ca. Or you can also send it to me through Facebook Messenger, where my name is B. Slate Wahsa. The second method is to drop your work off into Lookout at our location, 74 Front Street. We have a small mailbox. We're the bright red building next to the post office, and we have a small white mailbox next to our side entrance that you can just put your work in, and I'll get it back to you as soon as I can. The third method is to hand your work into your DEC. Your DEC can fax your work to 1-800-737-1732 or toll-free fax to 1-800-463-7852. Also, they can send it through the Express. Students can fax their work in if they want to. Just give us a heads up that it's coming, because sometimes things get lost. If you'd like to connect with me through social media, both my Facebook profile and my YouTube channel are under the name B. Slate Wahsa. So you can friend me on Facebook, subscribe to my YouTube channel, then you'll get notifications when I upload one of our radio Zoom classes. They're all recorded, and I upload them shortly after broadcasting and stick them in a playlist called MBF3C. So this is a really easy way to find all of our materials. If you need to review something or if you missed something, you can go back and check it out again. Also, there are short videos that explain common errors and confusing concepts, which are a good place to start if you're struggling with an idea. I might have addressed it there that might help you out. Math is a really visual subject, so I strongly encourage you to access the videos. This way you can actually get the full experience. Just listening to me will only give you a part of it, and it'll be hard to understand lots of things because a lot of things are connected visually about organizing and making those connections between things. So just listening isn't really going to give you the full experience. So either watch live through Zoom, even if you don't want to talk to me, or watch the replays on YouTube. Both are great options. If neither of those work for you, let me know, and I'm happy to send you a copy of the recordings. And this way you still get the full experience and can really set yourself up for success. So if you have any questions or concerns, please reach out and connect with me. I reach out to you But if you don't need to wait for me to reach out and check in, feel free to connect when you need to connect. You can email me at bronwyn.slate@nnec.owen.ca. You can Facebook me at bslatewasa. Call me at the office at 807-737-1488, extension 2209, or toll free 1-800-667-3703. My office hours are Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., but I teach from 9 until 11, so that is not a good time to try to get a hold of me. Today is lesson 17, measures of central tendency and standard deviation. This is a two-part lesson. Today we're going to be focusing on the first part, measures of central tendency, and then in our next session, we will be looking at the second part of lesson 17, which is standard deviation and measures of variability. So our learning goals for this lesson as a whole are that you'll be able to distinguish between mean, median, and mode averages. These are the measures of central tendency. And 2, you will understand the purpose of the range, variance, and standard deviation for a set of data. These are the measures of variability, and that's what we'll be focusing on in our next session. So our success criteria for number 1, you can calculate the mean, median, and mode averages. And to accomplish the second one is being able to calculate the range, variance, and standard deviation. So being able to calculate it is really what our goal is. When will you use this in real life? Well, we're becoming comfortable with numbers, so we can be informed members of our community. Being able to see how information is collected, we've done previously, but then also calculated and manipulated is really important so that we are informed about what's going on in our communities. But first, of course, let's activate our brain with some mental math. I don't believe in mad math minutes. They cause stress and anxiety and just are not worth their time. So I believe that we should work on developing strategies that make us comfortable and confident and use the tools that we each individually have. So today's question is 1,980 divided by 180. And we're going to use the concept of proportional reasoning. So personally, this question looks daunting to me. If I was to do this with using the algorithm, the long division steps, it would just be stressful. But I think we can do it if we use this strategy of proportional reasoning. So what that means is that we're going to divide both things into smaller groups in order to have less things to deal with. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to divide both by 10, because then I have a smaller factor. I've gone from 1,980 to 198, and I've gone from 180 to 18. So already my numbers are not quite so daunting. Then I'm going to see, okay, well, I can cut both of my numbers in half. So I don't have to divide by the same amount each time. I can cut things in amounts that make sense to me. So 18 and a half is 9, 198 and a half. Well, 100 and a half is 50. 90 and a half is 45. So that's now we've got 95. 8 and a half is 4. So now we have 99. And now I can just see, well, 99 divided by 9 is 11. So I would never have imagined that 1,980 divided by 180 is equal to 11. But just by doing those 2 steps of shrinking my proportions made it so that it was a lot easier to actually divide. Okay, so what prior learning do we need to have for today's lesson? I just want to go over some definitions. So data point is one piece of information. So for example, your math grade is 74%. That is a data point. One piece, 74%. A data set is a collection of information. So it's a collection of data points. So for example, all your subject grades are 92%, 74%, 85%, and 71%. That's a data set. It's made up of a bunch of data points. Set notation is a list of this information, and we contain it within curly brackets, or also could be called braces. And so we just have curly bracket, 92, 74, 85, 71, curly bracket. That's how we note that we're talking about a data set. And that's what we need to know to set ourselves up for today's lesson. This information is stuff that's all around us, again, shows up in various places. So averages are things that they tell us in very different places. So whether or not, like here where I have different types of advertising methods. So you're going to get which one is going to be the best option by looking at stats. They're going to tell you, oh, this is the most common one that you get the most bang for your buck or whatever. Comparing here, we can see in this distribution of newborn weights. So this is averages in terms of telling us how we can see that in the middle here, most newborns weigh 7.5. Not most, but on average, the middle amount is 7.5 pounds. Is how much newborns weigh when they're born. Then here we can see US household income. So this shows us that, again, that information shows us of where the peaks are, where most of that is in terms of this shows us different information. We're going to look into comparing your mean, median, and mode to figure out how that's useful information. So let's dive in. So our measures of central tendency. This is on page 7 of your IELTS booklet. And this is a single value that attempts to describe a set of data by identifying the central position within that set of data. So we're trying to give us one piece of information that gives us information about all of the data. It's thought of as the middle, average, or center of the data set. It's always a point between the highest and the lowest data point. And the most common types, the ones that we're going to be looking at, are called the mean, median, and mode, which maybe you've heard of before. So first, looking at the mean. So this is usually called the average, and it might be called the arithmetic mean. We're just going to call it the mean. And this is when you add up all of your data points and you divide by the total number of data points. So your mean is equal to the sum of the data points divided by the number of data points. So let's practice this. So we know that the mean is equal to the sum of data points divided by the number of data points. So here I have a screenshot of weather for 2 weeks. We can see that it is, the date doesn't really matter to us. We just have our sort of data set is -13, -12, -10, -8, -7, -5, -2, 0, -6, -4, -3, -3, -3, -3. So we're wondering what the mean temperature is. We add up all of our values. That's our first step. We have to keep in account the negatives. So that we need to remember that when we're adding negatives, how that works. And then we divide by the total number that we have. So we have 14 pieces of data. It's over 2 weeks. So we divide it by 14. So that means we get -79 divided by 14 is equal to -5.6. So the mean temperature for that 2-week period is -5.6. And that's all how you calculate the mean. And that's what you need to know for doing the support questions on page 8. Question number 1 is just calculating your mean. So the median on page 8 is the middle value of an ordered set of data values. So what does that mean? It means that we line up all of our information from lowest to biggest, and we take the middle value. If you have an odd number of data points, it is always just the middle value. But if you have an even number of data points, that means there is no middle value. So you add your 2 middle values together and you divide them by 2 to figure out the halfway point between those 2 middle points. So the median is defined by being the middle value when data is organized from lowest to highest. So it has to be in order or else it doesn't make any sense. So let's look at an example. So we know we need to order it. So we have our temperatures, the same temperatures we're looking at. But this time for step 1, we need to organize it. So we need to say, okay, well, -13 is our lowest value. Remember, we're dealing with negatives. So it has looks like a big quantity, but it's the lowest because it's negative. So then we look at the next, -12 is the next. We look through -10, lots of these are in order, -8, -7. Oh, then we have to jump over here to get -6, then -5, then -4, then -3, -3, -3, -3. Then way back here, -2 and 0. So we put them in the order of lowest to highest. And then what I like to do is I cross the lowest off and the highest off. And then the next lowest and the next highest. The next lowest and the next highest. The next lowest and the next highest. So I keep doing this until I end up with my middle values. Now here, because we have 14 data points, that means we have an even number of data points. So we're going to have 2 middle values. We don't have 1 middle value. So then we have to figure out what's halfway between those 2 middle values. So here we have -5 plus -4, and we divide it by 2 because we have 2 values. So -4.5 is the median, is the middle value of this data set. So now you can do some more questions on page 9. Question number 2 is practicing calculating your median. And then finally, we're going to look at mode, which is on page 9 of your IL booklet. So this is the data point that occurs the most often. So if you have 2 data points that have the same frequency, then you have 2 modes. It is okay to have multiple modes if they have the same frequency that is the most. That's fine. So mode is just the most frequent data point or points. So again, looking at our data set, here we don't have to have them organized, but if we do have them organized, then sometimes it's easier to see which one is the most. But here we can see, so another way to organize it, you can just, again, you don't have to have them organized, but just having them organized means that you definitely don't miss because you have all of your group, all of the numbers grouped together. In this data set, our -3s are all at the same time during the week. And so they already are grouped together, but this just organizing them is just a way to help make it a little bit clearer. So then we go through with each of our data points and we see how many there are. So -13, there's 1. -12, there's 1. -10, there's 1. -8, there's 1. -7, -6, -5, there's only 1. -3, there's 4. -2, there's 1. 0, there's 1. Often it's not going to be like this where you just more likely you're going to have 2 of another number or 3 of another number. This case, everything was 1 except for -3, which there was 4 of. I can't control what temperature is going to be. So our mode is -3. You don't have to do any other calculation. We're just counting which one is the most frequent. And I can do some more questions on page 10, questions 3 and 4. So often students wonder, well, which average is the best? Why do we have 3 different things to give us the same information? And it really depends on the situation. It depends on what you want to know and what you're trying to communicate. So you need to be wary when you're looking at media, when you're looking at reports or any information of the word average, because the information can be accurate, it can be true, but yet it can still be misleading. Because the question, what is the average temperature in mid-March in Sioux Lookout? So the average, all of these things that we calculated are technically averages. So the median was -5.6 degrees. The median was -4.5 degrees, and the mode was -3 degrees. So in terms of temperature, that's different. Like a difference of 2.5 degrees is going to play a role in that, right? So these are all averages, but depending on what you want to communicate, you might pick the mean is still true, but it's different than the mode, or you might pick the mode, which again is still true. So you want to be wary of that. So the mean is what's most frequently used. And it's most accurate when your data is continuous and symmetrical. So if you don't have any big outliers, if you don't have lots of ups and downs, if your information is all very similar, your mean is a great tool. So here, if we look at this salary distribution graph, we can see that we're asking, if we're asked what's the average salary. So in the middle, because we have a lot, we have some lower, some higher, but most of them are clustered around the middle. The mean is useful and accurate piece of information. The median is when your data is either skewed left or right. So when you have outliers are present, when you have pieces of information that are really different than the rest of your information, using your median is a good option. So here we have the square footage of homes. We can see that our median is our middle value, right? So that shows us that the square footage of homes is about between 180 square feet and 2,000 square feet, whereas the mean is at 2,400 square feet because there's this outlier of this data point of 7,000, which is so different from everything else. So that just skews the information. It says that the mean is higher because the mean is higher, but that's not really realistic of what is true for most of the homes. So it's not actually the middle average, where the median is the middle average of that information. And the mode is useful when it's nominal data because the categories cannot be ordered in a meaningful way. So nominal is when we say name, it means name. So if we don't, with our mean and our median, we're actually doing calculations. But with your mode, we can just say, okay, well, there's not an order that makes any sense. Here we're looking at the transportation methods that students use, and car is the mode, is the thing that happens the most often. So this tells us that that's useful for this piece of information. If we were to add up these amounts and divide, it wouldn't really help us. And there is no middle value because there's no highest value or lowest value. All right, so let's do some practice questions to dive into this a little bit more. Number 1, Gabriel buys 8 DVDs at Discount Dan's DVD shop. 3 cost $10.50, 1 costs $7.75, 1 costs $5.25, and 2 costs $3.50. Find the mean, median, and mode of the cost of his DVDs. Okay. So often these questions want you to do all 3 because we're practicing. So the mean, we need to calculate. These ones are kind of tricky because we have all of our data points aren't listed out because we have 3 DVDs that cost $10.50. So we can write out $10.50 3 times. Can be one way we can do it. Or we can say, well, we're going to have 3 times $10.50. And that's another way to do it. We have 1 that's $7.75, so we just need $7.75 once. 1 that's $5.25, just need that once. And 2 that are $3.50. So we need that twice. So that is equal to, oops, wrong button. So 3 times 10.50 plus 7.75 plus 5.25 plus 2 times 3.50 is equal to $51.50. So that's part 1, right? So part 2, we need to $51.50 divided by, well, how many DVDs do we get? So we got 3 plus 1, 4 plus 1, 5 plus 2, 7. So 5150 divided by 7 is equal to $7.36. So the mean of the price of the DVDs was $7.36. So then the median, now we need to order them. So the cheapest one was $3.50. So now we're going to write all of them out so that we have all of our data points when we're crossing them out. So we have 350, 350, 525, 775, and 1050, 1050, 1050. So now we're going to cross off the lowest one and the highest one. We're going to keep doing that until we get to the middle value. So the median is equal to 775. Just going to write. Okay. And then the mode. The nice thing is that when you do these one after together, we've already ordered our information here. So we don't need to do it again. We can just look and see, okay, well, there's 2 350s, 1, and there's 3 1050s. So the mode is 1050. So again, these are really different answers. So you want to decide what might be the most useful piece of information that if you're sharing this. So that's how you find the mean, median, and the mode for this data set. All right, number 2. The prizes in the local lottery are worth the following: 2 prizes of $1 million, 7 prizes of $350,000, and 10 prizes of $250. How should they advertise the average winnings? So they probably want you to think you're going to win the most money because they want you to buy a ticket, right? So they want you to think that the average winnings, how much are people going to, in general, win? They probably want you to think you're going to win more money. So the mode, first to look at that, let's analyze this. So the mode is $250, right? Because there's 10 prizes of that. So that happens most frequently. So is that going to get people to buy tickets? No, it's not a very high. So this is not good advertising. The most people are going to win $250, but it's not good advertising. So then the median, okay, so we can order our information. We can also think that, okay, well, we have in total, if I don't want to write them all out, in total, I can say, well, I have 19 pieces of information. So that means that my half of my information, so I'm going to have 9 pieces of information. So half of my information is, my middle point is 9.5 because 19 divided by 2 is 9.5. So that means I need 9 smaller amounts and 9 bigger amounts, and that one in the middle is going to be bigger. So again, my median, because I have, if I order these all up, I have 10 250s and then 7 350,000 and then 2 millions. So again, my median is going to be 250 because that's still the middle value. So again, not good in advertising. Because so far, we don't feel like we're winning very much money. So then let's calculate the mean. So we have 2 times $1 million plus 7 times 350,000 plus 10 times 250. So let's do that. Want to make sure we put in enough of zeros for a million. And all of that's going to divide by 19, right? Because we have 19 pieces of data. So we have 4,452,500 divided by 19 is equal to $234,342.11. So that is your mean. So in terms of advertising, in terms of people wanting to buy, getting you to buy tickets, if you say the average winnings is going to be $234,342.11, are you more likely to buy a ticket than if you say that the average winnings is $250? Probably. So here, the mean, in terms of the information that the local lottery is giving, the mean is going to be the best average to share because it's the highest value, even though most people are not going to win that, but that shows it makes you feel like most people are going to win that, and which is what the goal is of the person who's trying to get you to buy tickets. So this is what I mean by it's really careful. You got to be careful about the information because it is accurate, it is true, but it might not be the whole truth. Number 3, find the mean and median for each set of marks. So Susie has 43, 52, 54, 73, 78, 95. Ruse has 45, 56, 88, 89, 92, 98. So for Susie, our mean is, we're going to add them up and divide by 6. And I'm not going to write it out just because I'm not going to have a ton of space. So I'm just going to do it on my calculator, which is the opposite of showing my work. So I recognize the irony of me telling you to show your work and then not actually doing it. So 395 divided by 6 is 65.8. So the mean is 65.8. The median, now I was nice and I organized this information so we can see that our lowest, highest, lowest, highest. So we need to do 54 plus 73 divided by 2 to figure out our median. Because we need to find the point between halfway between the two. It's 63.5. And then the mode so is there a mode? Is there a most frequent value? No. So that no value, though values are close, there's no most frequent value, therefore there's no mode. That happens. So then for Ruse, the same thing. Mean is 45 plus 56 plus 88 plus 89 plus 92 plus 98 divided by 6 is 78. And the median, again, we have 6 values, so it's going to be halfway point between 88 and 89, oops, which is 88.5. And the mode, sorry. Is there any mode? Nope, there's no data point, sorry, that has repeating frequency. So there's just no mode that's possible. So then part B says, what is the best measure of central tendency for, oh, I wasn't supposed to calculate mode, but it's good to notice anyway. The mean or the median. So if we're assuming that we want the higher, we're trying to say higher value, because again, we don't know what the point is, but if these are marks and we want to say that we have a higher average, the mean would be the better option for Susie because the mean is higher. But for Ruse, the better option would be the median because the median is higher. So again, you can see that your information can be really different depending on which of these measures you choose to use. So then sometimes you just are asked, often you're just asked to find these things with a list of data. I find that this isn't the most fun to do, but this is just practice. So again, when you're doing your practice problems, your support problems, it's okay if you don't want to, if you're like, okay, I get this, I don't need to keep doing this. That's fine. If you need more practice, keep practicing. That's why they're there. So again, I'm not going to write it all out because I'm listed there already. I'm just going to add them up. So for a mean, 64 plus 69 plus 72 plus 54 plus 89 plus 92 plus 54 plus 32. Okay, and then how many do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4. Didn't mean for you to change. Can you go back, please? One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're going to divide by 8. And that gives us an answer of 65.75. Median. This time, did I organize your information? No, I did not because I was feeling mean. So I'm going to rearrange it. So 32 is my lowest. Then 54. Then another 54. And then my next one is 64. And then 69. And then 72. 89. 92. So then we find our middle values. So halfway between 64 and 69 is going to be 66.5. And then our mode, well, we see we have two 54s, so 54 is our mode. And then again, here we have smaller values with decimal points. It's still the same. Even if the numbers don't look particularly friendly, it is still the same. So this can be tricky to not miss data points. So it's just really important to be really careful and paying attention to details. because it's really easy to either miss a data point or miss a decimal or miss something, put in the wrong one. As you see, I make mistakes all the time. They happen. And all you can do is practice and pay attention. Okay, so adding them up, we get 49.6. Then how many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So divided by 13 is going to be 3.8. The median. Again, this is not super fun to have to order but you need to. So 0 is my lowest. And then I have 0.5 and 0.4. So 0.4, then 0.5. And then next, do I have any 1 point anything? Nope. So then 2.1, 2.1, there, 2.2. It also is really easy to miss things when you are ordering your data. Then no 3 point anything. So then I have 4.3 and 5.7, 5.7. Then I have 7.3, 8.3, 8.4. Yeah. Okay, so now cross out the top, bottom. You just keep going. So then our median is 2.6. And our mode, now that we have our information organized, we can look and see, okay, we have 2 2.1s and we have 2 5.6s. So that means our modes are 2, 2.1, and 5.7. So again, that's really just a lot of different information. This tells us that our data is spread out in quite some different patterns. All right, let's consolidate what we've learned today. So this is lesson 17, the first half. So just looking at measures of central tendency. So remember, mean is when you add up all your data points and you divide by the total number of data points. Median is when we order data points from lowest to highest. We find the middle value. If there's 2 middle values because it's even, then you add them up and divide by 2 to find halfway between the 2. And mode is ordering the data points from lowest to highest, makes it easiest. And then you find the value that has the most frequent data points. And it is possible to have more than one mode. You're only going to have one median. You're only going to have one mean. So our success criteria today was just that you can calculate mean, median, mode. Hopefully you can do that. And again, in our next session, we will complete lesson 17 to look at the next 3 parts, the measures of variability, which are also time consuming and can be a bit confusing. So if you have any questions about this today, please feel free to contact me, call me at the office at 807-737-1488, extension 2209, or toll free 1-800-667-3703. Email me at bronwyn.slate@nnec.on.ca or connect with me through Facebook at bslate Wahsa. Remember, we have a playlist on my YouTube channel at bslate Wahsa that is called MBF3C, where all of our past lessons are, and you can see everything, review everything, slow things down, stop them as needed. So totally check that out and use it as needed. I hope you were able to learn something today. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a great day. Bogwitch.